cleaning house. Vitality 4 members alive. They got the 2 carries, Mini Troopex.
The base wide open. They've got their eyes set on the prize. They're feeling good. They're cheering on the stage. And 3 rookies, the lineup of Vitality, prove themselves worthy of the top 4.
Just a few weeks ago, there were 10 teams vying for the title. Now, only 4 remain.
Every single game we have had so far was just practice.
You can never really count me out, and I'm always going to be there at the top.
What would actually mean something is that we get to the final and win.
Of those teams, 2 are Fnatic and G2 Esports. Between them, they hold all but 1 European LCS championship.
I think being the best is just great, but I never experienced it. My legacy is just being third, always, so I want to change it.
We didn't really showcase what we could do. I'm eager to play against G2 again for the semi-finals rematch.
My legacy so far hasn't really been what I've wanted it to be. I'm yet to reach certain grounds that others haven't.
Beating Fnatic will mean that we'll actually win the European LCS.
My eyes are on far more than ELCS, but my first prize is ELCS. ELCS is where my heart is.
When I see my team lifting trophy, it just feels 1,000 times better than when I was playing myself.
I would like to get back to the winning Europe, because I think if you cannot win Europe, then it's hard to see yourself winning other trophies as well.
This week, 2 teams will earn the honor of fighting for the crown, while the others will receive VIP seats to watch from the sidelines. Because fame is fleeting, but legacy lasts forever.
Fnatic topple G2 and are your spring split champions!
3 rookies prove themselves worthy of the top 4 in the EU LCS. A double kill from Perkz! This guy is a madman! He can do it! Oh, Memento! You beautiful man! Gets the Quadra! Gotta be a pacer for Kobe!
It's time to find out who will rise. This is the EU LCS. Hello everyone and welcome to the EU LCS in Berlin, Germany, where tonight we will kick off the semifinals. Just 4 teams remain on the road to Copenhagen, and a win today will put either G2 Esports or Splyce in the spring finals, and we are here to introduce and cover it all for today. My name is Evie Schokkelsupporter, and I'm joined here by Martin de Fischer Lunge and Trevor Quickshot. Henry, wow, what a video.
Pulsa, you know?
Indeed, what playoffs we've had so far.
Blown away. So many powerful statements, shocks, some shocks fired as well, and we'll have to see which ones come true.
Exactly, and let's talk about the stakes then. Today, a spot in the finals is on the docket. Let's talk about how the teams got here. We did have to say goodbye to Roccat and H2K division.
Yeah, I mean, when we say goodbye to them, sorry, I'm jumping in.
Excuse me, Trevor.
Well, please go ahead, Deficio.
No, you can take this one away.
I think the thing I want to highlight primarily is that the 4 teams remaining are the 4 best teams from the regular season. I was a little sad to see Roccat go, but this is not the same strength Roccat of previous seasons. The talent factory just simply wasn't churning it out. And looking at Oda Wamne in the top lane for Splyce, phenomenal performance. Kasing as well, who we saw in the video, really stepping up. On the other side, Vitality really had to fight tooth and nail to take down H2K. What I'm impressed about, H2K made it into playoffs after the 8-10 regular season. They made such a great choice, dropping Cadril in the mid lane after that god-awful Malzahar cancel in week 1, day 1 against Vitality, mind you. Selfie steps into the bracket, 5 games, and Vitality makes same.
That's more analysis than I've heard you ever give in your entire career, Trevor.
It is true, it is true. It's you're rubbing off on me, Deficio.
Yeah, clearly. And you're not giving anything, which is also great. Let's preview tomorrow, Fnatic versus Team Vitality. There's so many awesome things to talk about in this one. I think we have to comment also on the top lane, right? This is Bwipo's rookie split. Soaz got injured. Now he is playing the playoffs. How has he impressed you so far?
I mean, Bwipo's been fantastic, I think, as an introduction into this team. Very bright future ahead for a player like him, you know, to fill into the shoes of Soaz and show up in the way he did. I don't know. I feel like this guy could find himself on a top team very soon.
There's no doubt about it. And of course, the new rookie of the mid lane, the next generation, Deficio keeps hyping up how well Jozuke plays the side lane. That is something we need to watch, keep an eye on. That's going to help Vitality against Fnatic. But it is a little bit more risky. You know, many Troopex in the bottom lane stepping toe-to-toe against one of the best best players Europe's ever made.
But I think you see kind of the wildfire of that young lineup, right? And I am daring to dream big with these rookies. They might do some damage in very difficult groups at Worlds.
I mean, taking down a Korean team, it's possible.
It's possible.
I think with Jizuke in the mid lane too, and some of the champions he's been playing as well, these roaming mids, the Talia, for example, he's looked fantastic on the Rise too. Jizuke's Rise. Now, if you put him on these split push champions, he takes over the map.
Of course, in 2018, just released Talia. She's doing so well.
There's no doubt about it. And of course, after that mid lane, we are looking at some of these big team fights that can be impacted. I think you cannot disregard the bot lane impact. Tristana and Siva are hugely powerful. Reckless is well known to be a one-trick pony. He has such a limited champion pool in 2018, and those two champions are his signatures.
Yeah, I think the important thing about, you know, the Sivir, the Tristana for Reckless is that they almost guarantee you pentakills in a final, which definitely improves your chance of winning them 3-0.
Yeah, it could be super, super good in the long run. And now we also have G2 versus Splice today. It's going to be such a big matchup, especially in that top lane, Trevor.
I mean, of course, keep in mind that in the top lane, Oda, Wonder, and Wonder, they're going to be facing off, but it's going to be Wonder against his former team. Of course, Wonder dropping from Splice to move over, and I don't know what Perkz is going to do. This bot lane, no more Sven, no more Mithy, stepping in Thjarnan and Wadid. I mean, I don't fancy their chances. They did look good in the regular season, but the pressure's turned up, and I think Kobby's got their number.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. It is do or die for G2. Will they keep their finals dream alive? Will Perkz' journey end here? No matter who comes out on top, the future of European League of Legends looks bright for the years to come. There may even be a Worlds final on the cards. Let's take a look at today's match. Just kidding, if you hadn't caught on before. It was April
Wait, that was a joke?
It was a joke. But welcome, everybody, to the LEC. You were also joking. You fly home. What were you doing? 2022 Spring Playoffs, where G2 Esports and Team Vitality fight for survival in the lower bracket today, with the loser being eliminated from the season. Jankos is in a good mood. We love to see it. We're going to see if he's going to smurf it on the lift, on the Rift. And these are our EULCS cue cards. My name is still Shox, and I'm joined by Ender and Trouble. I gotta say, we got a little emotional, Trevor and I, doing that skit to see how far we've come. And it's cool to see how far we've come and what an awesome desk we have now in 2022 as well.
How did you guys get here? I was waiting.
We jumped in the time machine.
We did.
Clearly. That was actually real live footage we recorded in 2018 before I was even here.
Exactly. But now, on a bit more serious note, of course, we're back in the playoffs. And let's take a look at how last week's series played out. I think coming into the playoffs, Georgia, we were really happy with the matchups particularly, but also the quality of the matchups delivered.
Honestly, going into playoffs, all 6 teams look extremely strong. Maybe a little bit with an exception with Frog and Fnatic looking just a little bit above the rest of the pack. I think I expected like 5-game series all across the board, and even though it didn't go that way, I think it definitely delivered.
I think, like, we saw Rogue and Fnatic get the wins that were a little bit more expected, but the Vitality Excel series was so hype. Like, what a great matchup to watch. In Excel's first ever playoffs performance to go to 5 games and even go up 2-1 in that series. We had tons of back and forth matches between the two teams, a lot of really interesting mid-game calling from both squads as well. And even though Excel do lose and do find themselves eliminated, I think they've put up one hell of a fight.
Absolutely. Excel have everything to be proud of. I'm really excited to see what will happen for them in summer. And Vitality, I want to say they needed those games, and they are in the lower bracket now, Trouble, and that's someone's comfort zone.
I mean, I guess the lower bracket buff is real. Fnatic did it last season. Why not Vitality as well? I mean, with the caliber of players on Vitality, more games under the belt, getting warmed up, getting some more games, maybe finals?
Yeah, maybe. I honestly, like, this is a team that it felt like had a lot of really good moments and found themselves, like, throwing it a little bit later on in the year. So if Perkz comes in, is like, you know, really nose to the grindstone, is that even a...
I think it is.
I think that's a thing. I think that's a thing.
I'm not a native English
If he
speaker,
knows
so,
the
and she is an eater, so...
Then Yeah.
I think we're going to rely on you for the Inglando. Tomorrow, the current 2 best teams in the LEC, Rogue and Fnatic, will face off in an epic clash for a spot in the spring finals. We touched on it already, a cut above the rest, and I want to throw it to my analyst. How much are they really above the rest, Trouble?
I mean, honestly, I find the statistic to be a tiny bit different. Rogue relies a lot on having that aggression through the jungle. I think Malran coming in gave a breath of fresh air in the entire team. They already had pretty good solo laners, but the fact that he is enabling them to win that early game, to snowball even harder, I think makes the difference here.
Yeah, I'd say even better than pretty good. Like, this team was crushing it in the lanes last year, and then Malrang just had more early aggression and take it to even the next level. And I think Fnatic, in a very similar way, have strong laners in their own right. Their bottom lane in particular, absolutely crushing it. Dominated in 2021, carried into 2022. They have been on fire and carrying Fnatic to the early games.
Could I say best ball in the West, maybe?
You could say that, but it's up to you.
I would say Core, JJ, and Tons. No.
Oh, come on.
In the mid lane, we have Humanoid versus Larson, the best mid laners of the LEC. I think for now, this is their era. Larson and Humanoid have been at the top now for the last 2 years and have even met in that final last year around.
I mean, yeah, this has been a matchup that's been brewing since they were both rookies and sort of evolving over the last few years. And they, after their matchup this weekend, will be the most seen mid lane matchup in the history of the LEC. That's including the EU LCS earlier, beating out the likes of like Nuke Duck versus Febvin, Perkz versus Caps, not even that high on the list. Humanoid, Larson have been battling for so long.
Let me throw you this question, Georgia. Who out of the two has evolved the most over those years?
I don't know if there is a correct answer in that, because I feel like they both have reached really high highs in very different levels. I feel like Humanoid is the more explosive mid laner that will make that impact, but then Larson is somebody who's so dependent to always deliver under any circumstance. So I think if we're talking like skill level, I think they've both reached peak and they have more to go.
What do you think?
I would say for me, Humanoid, I felt like he was a very hit or miss player early in the career. Like, it was clear he had all the fundamentals there. Larson has always been consistent, but Humanoid's evolution to lose out on so many of those coin flip don't go wrong plays to all of a sudden just be on point in the vast majority of his games, that evolution has been fantastic.
Super exciting to see tomorrow, of course, Rogue versus Fnatic. But tonight, 2 of Europe's greatest mid laners of all time, Caps and Perkz, will face off to decide who will advance and whose title hopes will already be buried.
Next up, Vitality versus G2. Now, for years, they were teammates, but tonight, Caps and Perkz face each other on the LEC stage as enemies. Combined,
Perkz. Caps, good to see you. Likewise. You shouldn't have come back here. The LEC isn't big enough for the 2 of us.
I would know. I've been clapping things since before your nickname.
Then heading out to retirement last year was a good idea.
I hope you've learned a few things while I've been away. Manners, clearly not being one of them.
Your powers are weak, old man.
You still got a lot to learn, boy. My ethereal chains will destroy you.
I had to move when you're perma-stunned by my gold card.
My shockwave will make short work of that.
Right before my package destroys your entire team.
That's my move.
I know.
Well, it doesn't stand a chance when I use my skeleton peak.
Oh yeah? Well, countered by my Hex, Void, Ray.
Wait, that's an ability?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I never learned the names.
Yeah, same.
Hey, we shouldn't fight.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's go grab a snack?
Sure, let's go.
Gosh, I absolutely love that video. Completely amazing. But before we start the series today, I just really want to find a chance to talk about, you know, a former duo with my old duo.
Hey.
Quick Shy, I know you're gonna love that one. No, Caps versus Perkz, the legendary duo in LEC, and I would say the best 2 mid laners to ever play in the LEC.
I ship it. I completely ship it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you can make debates about who may have been an individual better player at their individual time, but the way these two have competed, the 14 combined LEC titles, MSI Finals, MSI Championship, multiple World Finals appearances, these are the 2 players that have defined definitely our generation, and back to back to back. I mean, it's incredibly accomplishments they have already achieved.
Yeah, and they've basically done almost anything you can do in League of Legends. And I think, like, going back to the beginning, like 2016 for Perkz, I was watching you cast Perkz, as a matter of fact, and he sort of hit the ground running with G2 in a way that you might not have expected
Nobody did.
With Gamers 2 joining the league.
I mean, nobody did because, of course, Ocelot was the face, the brand, the name, and he made a very smart decision to replace himself in the mid lane, move to a managerial role, and find this new talent, this next generational defining player. Perkz joins the league with G2. They've been back-to-back titles, 4 in a row, making 1 behind Fnatic. No team had ever done that before. He redefined what it meant not only to be a player in the mid lane, but also to be a leader and a captain. And despite roster changes, roster shuffles, when you started to discount some of the players on that team, his guidance and his leadership led them to victories.
Yeah, and when you're talking about like best of all time, looking at not just the talent in the server, but the leadership and calls too, obviously going to be there. But it wasn't always perfect for Perkz, because all of a sudden in 2018, we had a new challenge. We had Caps coming into the league, and that sort of, again, took everything by storm, because he was playing back in Turkey when Perkz had started playing in the LEC. Once he joins Fnatic on the rival team of G2 and goes against Perkz, he's immediately like solo killing him in his first game.
I mean, it was, and of course, keep in mind that that same season, Sven and Mithi leave G2, right? So not only does Perkz have his greatest competition to face off against, it's then replacing his bottom lane, and the question that Fnatic had to answer, how do we stop Perkz, is now flipped. G2 have to answer, how do we stop Caps? Well, the answer is simple.
Money, money, money.
Take him, take him. You know, Perkz decides to role swap, was very vocal in terms of that 2019 season, moving to bottom lane, bringing Caps in. And all of a sudden, what was the biggest rivalry, and frankly was like handshaking. Okay, you are better now. Okay, you are better now. Now they're combined. And that 2019 season was the most impressive, fun to watch, creative teams that Europe's ever produced. They won MSI, they made World Finals. We may not see a team like that for a very long time to come.
Right, but it had to come to an end because Perkz didn't want to be in bot lane forever, right? He wanted to go to mid lane. He wanted to play versus Caps in EU. That wasn't an option, right? So he goes across the sea and joins that Cloud9 roster with the intent to dominate NA.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, though, right? They made it to MSI, but, you know, that was in a best of 5 where you're playing against a sub-jungler, then makes it to Worlds, but sort of scrambled to get there at the end. And at the same time, here in EU, G2 weren't able to make it, right? We were promised this mid lane face-off internationally of Perkz versus Caps that never ended up happening.
You could make an argument that even though both players and both teams respectively in C9 and G2 last year had disappointing years, Perkz had a better year. And Perkz has always had one step up. Why do you ask that? Why does he say that, Trevor? Well, the cynic in me says that Perkz would have stolen Caps to his team, put him under his wing, to keep Caps a couple titles behind him, to ensure that the winningest player Europe has ever produced remains so. Now, that will be put to the test today, because this season, I don't think either player has lived up to the expectations that their pedigree, their experience has delivered. And secondarily to that, I'm very interested to see who will step up, who will really lead the charge. And when Perkz takes to the stage, playing against Caps, playing against G2, and crucially, playing against Carlos, I think he's bringing his best today.
That's so good, right? Like Vitality and G2, only one can go on. Perkz versus Caps, only one can move on. They both did huge overhauls. The Vitality super team that was supposed to, again, Perkz come in and dominate EU, hasn't happened yet. And now, after today, one of these teams will fail. One of these legendary mid laners will be eliminated, and one will fall again, while the other stays alive in the race for the title.
Stepping forward and knocking down G2 Esports. The hook coming from LeBron. G2 are unleashed. It's a miracle win. They were in control. They lost everything, but they managed to find a way back.
Well, we have the pleasure of talking to Perkz ahead of his best of 5 against Vitality, and whoever wins today goes on to face Misfits. So Perkz, let's talk a little bit about what the preparation is like, knowing that you have 2 different opponents. How much more complicated does that make the week from last week to now?
I mean, it is pretty complicated, but you just have to kind of take it more with ease, because if you overthink or how do I say, try to prepare too hard and then you get thrown off by something, it's really hard to like adapt against 2 teams as well. So we just kind of come into the week maybe a little more relaxed than last week, I would say, but we still have a general idea of what we want to do against both teams. Obviously having prepped much more for G2, and you know, give it like when we have, since we have like, you know, eyes on the prize, 4 best of 5s left ahead of us. It's really important to not get like too stressed out or too confused, and just take it one step at a time. I feel like that is the most important for us right now, yeah.
What would you say to the fans and the viewers at home that are looking at your matchup against Caps in particular, and saying that maybe this weekend's matchup is more of a narrative one, because neither Caps nor Perkz have really been the dangerous players they once were?
Well, I would beg to differ. I think we are both pretty good. I don't think I had a bad split. Like, just because we as a team didn't really play super well, I don't think I had a bad split myself. So I don't really give a shit too much about what other people say or think about my performance. I'm my own biggest critic, and I know when I perform badly and when I perform well. And having said that, I feel very comfortable with my preparation and skill for these playoffs, and I think that we're going to do just fine, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this matchup. I want to know a bit more personally. What does it mean to Luca to play against Caps, to play against G2, and to play against Carlos today?
I mean, it was just kind of fun. Honestly, facing Caps and Jankos, whom I played with for so long, and we've had a lot of success together, right? So it is nice that we find each other in the lower bracket here again, you know. And yeah, facing G2, the team that I've basically, you know,
you built up. I mean, you built the team. Let's just say it.
Yeah, I got the team to the LEC, you know, won a few titles with them, a few too many maybe. And I mean, it's just really fun, honestly. It's like a bit personal, obviously, right? So I don't want to lose today, but I don't really want to lose anytime I play, but I guess I would say today is a little bit more extra. I don't want to lose. So yeah, I'm just here to, you know, have fun and give it my best.
Very, very last question. What will the final score be today when Vitality wins?
3-1 Vitality.
3-1 Vitality. You have it from Perkz. Over to you, Shocks.
Thank you so much, Quickshot. That was an awesome interview, a little bit of candid. Yeah, speaking from Perkz also about maybe I went a little bit too much with G2, but I also unironically love the 2018 thing we did at the start, because it just shows the long storylines that all of these players have and how much it all means to them now that they are new configurations. And we've got a new look G2 Esports and a new look Vitality here today. We saw them, of course, already last week, Trouble. Do you think they showed us something different compared to what they showed in the regular season, Vitality?
Absolutely. I think they definitely evolved coming in as the super team, and obviously not doing that great in the first 2 weeks was a bit of a disappointment, but I think they've reinvented themselves, and coming into the playoffs, they saw a very good stylistic of wanting to play towards the top side, which is the strong point in the map, and I felt like everyone performed to their standards. I will commend Excel, obviously, for giving them a really good fight as well, but I think Vitality, with a few more games underneath their belt, warming up, it can only get better.
I'm going to challenge you a little. So you say that the first 3 or the first 4 games, or all the games versus Excel, were the standard we have to expect from Vitality, and you're staying with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about G2?
I mean, on the side of G2, honestly, I feel like G2 had a fundamental game plan that worked really well for them in the regular season, which was using their jungler and their support Targamas to roam and play around mid lane, really trying to enable Caps. And we saw moments of that, like setting up these trap plays in River with your priority in their series versus Fnatic, when they were able to really punish Fnatic, you know, with deep vision, seeing when Fnatic were walking into River, snapping on that. We saw a couple of ganks around mid too, but I felt like through the draft and through the play as well, there was a lot more focus on the bot lane and sort of helping FLICKR out a little bit, whereas in the regular season it was kind of just like leave him on his own and get Targamas out to roam, and we just needed to see a little bit more of that, I feel like, and I want to see that today against Vitality particularly.
I was going to ask the same question as I just did to Georgia, right? Is this the standard that you saw versus Fnatic, and is it going to be enough to get far in these playoffs?
I think it's something that can work for G2. I am a little bit nervous about their bot lane in particular, and I'm really nervous if we continue to see Caps sort of go the trend of playing not super carry champions.
I'll agree, but I also think that because they're just so similar in how they want to play the game, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath towards the top side of the map as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Georgia, you already said it. A couple of oopsies coming out of Team Vitality, and I think the jungle support synergy particularly, and there is something that should be worked on.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about jungle support synergy, and I feel like it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, and no one really knows what that means. Like, oh, we have bad synergy. What is that? No, I think that for Vitality, we sort of see with Labrov and Selfmade, they have a lot of the right ideas initially, initially, but it breaks down with Labrov's over-eagerness to make plays happen. Take this play, for example, right here. Selfmade very clearly is calling he wants to go over towards the Rift Herald. While his bot lane has great prio on the bot side of the map, they're going to try and move up through river and then help escort that wave through mid in order to get the push and enable Selfmade on the Herald. The problem comes when Labrov sees an opportunity to try and gank this mid lane. He sees Nukeduck step towards him, so he says, I'm going on this. But Labrov does that before checking in his mind and seeing where's the enemy jungler, where's the enemy top laner, who are here, have roamed down and punished the mid lane. Selfmade is like, what the heck, dude? I thought you were trying to get pushed so we could do Herald. The call was not to gank mid initially. He wanted the objective, and because of that, Selfmade has to pull off the Herald and things go south. Now in this next clip, it results a little bit better for Vitality, but I think we see similar things as I have a war with technology, and we'll check this one out again. It's from the exact follow-up game in Game 5 with Selfmade on the Olaf, right? And he wants to go invade the enemy jungle. He calls Labrov up here. Karzi joins in the fight as well. It's all about enabling Selfmade, which I think works really well for Vitality. Again, though, we see a slight miscalculation. Labrov sees an opportunity to jump on Mickey, and the big difference here is that he gets the flash, and then Selfmade starts running away while Labrov says, I'm going to flash in again. I think this is a situation where you're never killing Mickey in a spot like this. You're too far away from Selfmade, but Labrov doesn't realize that in the moment, and that costs them. Then they follow it up, and Selfmade has a really good play. He fakes out that he's running towards the Raptors, and Labrov comes down underneath. So it feels like when Labrov and Selfmade are a little bit closer and working together better, that's when it succeeds. But a lot of the time, frankly, we end up seeing Labrov over-eager to set up these plays, and that costs Vitality.
And I felt like I was trying to pick my brain because Labrov has the lowest duo proximity, but he also has a pretty low jungle proximity for a support that perma roams the map. And I'm like, okay, what does Labrov actually do on the map? I don't know if you guys have seen the Kalista ghost sort of like roaming around the map, like scouting. I feel like he's playing a little bit too much on his own. Yes, he's trying to scout for his team and put down the vision, but a lot of the times I will agree with you, because if you go versus Jankos and Targamas known notoriously for his roaming and his ganks in other lanes, you're going to have to play a little bit better together.
Yeah, I think that's a clear working point. Obviously, that's not just a Labrov issue. That's obviously a team Vitality issue, but I'm glad that we can move on and also talk about some of the other lanes like the top lane, because we talked so much about the history of mid, but to me, this match is all about Alphari and about Broken Blade.
It was about time a meta came about where we actually want to ask the observers to put that camera towards the top side of the map so we can watch. I feel like obviously Alphari is playing the more traditional bruises towards the top side of the map, the Camille's and Nas, yada yada yada, but Broken Blade has brought a lot of flavor with all these different champions on the top side of the map.
Exactly, and I think that these champions play into an idea of really high damage and high focus on the top lane matchup, right? Broken Blade versus Alphari is specifically important today because in their last series, they both had the highest damage share of their team. They had the highest DPM of their team as well. So when they're playing these champions that have such a big impact to the actual damage in teamfights for a squad, it's really important that you don't get set behind, that you're the one with the upper hand in the matchup.
It's all really cool to see it also for G2, right? Who are used to playing so much around mid and jungle and whatnot. They shifted up their style a lot. Not saying they never played around Wonder in the past, but it's definitely a high focus and a lot of jungle proximity towards that top lane. And Broken Blade has taken that and ran with it, Georgia. And this is a nice visualization of what you were talking about in terms of the champions.
And I'm actually surprised that Broken Blade is actually sporting these champions, because last season we sort of saw a Broken Blade that would fall behind in the laning phase, but he was an absolute monster when it came to turning all the teamfights around. These champions that he's playing, they actually want to do well in the laning phase. If Tryndamere falls behind, you're screwed. If Axon falls behind, you're screwed. But he's actually doing pretty well in the early game, and so does Alphari. But the scary thing is, they both transition so well into teamfights.
Oh, perfectly. And I think that's why we're so excited for this top lane matchup. I do want to touch on a couple of things, focus points for getting into the draft. Top lane, obviously. Also, mid-jungle, going to be extremely important. And I think that's something that we've grown to love in the history from G2 Esports. And you actually, Trouble, looked at how specifically they like to draft G2 for their mid and jungle synergy.
I mean, when you're reinventing the entire team and the only two pieces that you keep is Jankos and Caps, you know that the synergy is going to be really strong between the two. And I feel like it shows in their draft as well. They played 4 different stylistic games. One of them was Caps facilitating for Jankos, bringing out the Karma for his Hecarim. The other one, there was the Lee Sin together with the Ahri. They wanted to assassinate, dive the backline, try for these really quick early kills towards the early game. And then when they want to play more towards the team fight, because they're G2, let's be honest, they love team fighting, they go towards the Trundle and the Orianna to facilitate each other. Again, I think it's just beautiful how the two core members of G2 are just working together.
Yeah, I just want Caps off the karma.
Oh,
Put him on the carry champs. You play towards mid lane anyways. Put him in a position to have the big team fight impact. Press an RE. That's nothing.
All right, I like it that you have differing opinions in that regard. Let's see what they go towards in this draft. We don't have a lot of time, so quick fire predictions. Ender.
3-2 Vitality.
Oof.
It's a banger.
Okay, it's a banger.
3-1 Vitality.
Okay. Oh, I'm a little bit surprised. My desk is just
I thought I was being
unilaterally
spicy.
voting for Vitality. I'd love to see
Like I didn't say 3-0.
what Discord voted for. Let's take a look.
Oh, you know what Discord voted for.
3-1 G2. I like it. They're balancing it out, right? The biased analyst desk is being balanced out by Discord a little bit.
Look, I had 3 years of people telling me I was G2 biased. I'm here to flip the script. It's Vitality.
I love that. G2 Esports versus Team Vitality. One team will advance to face Misfits on Sunday, and one team's title dreams will be crushed tonight. Let's find out who will take the first step in Game 1.